trusting your inner guidance. And you might be thinking this isn't anything you don't already know about, right? But despite your knowledge, how well on like a scale of 1 to 10 do you think that you embody trusting your inner guidance? And this, hey, this isn't a topic that is just for beginners, right? Who are just kind of newly embarking on their spiritual path and their journey to rediscovery. This is something that everyone is challenged with, including myself, because as you continue to evolve, you are an eternal student, and there will always be new invitations to mastery or new layers of yourself to uncover. And so this is a really important topic, and I'm going to share with you a couple of ways that you can actually forge a deeper level of trust in your inner guidance. And so the first thing I want to share with you on this is that it's important to ensure that you are living and being primarily from your heart space, which the heart center is actually the intersection of the spiritual and physical. So what I mean by this is that, you know, so many people have been conditioned to believe that they need to make decisions from their mind, and the mind serves a purpose. And something I often say is that the mind is a faithful servant, right? But your soul is eternal. Your soul has the blueprint for your life. So when it comes to expansion and making decisions that are based upon your growth, you always want to do that coming from your heart space. And so something that you can do that is really helpful is on a daily basis, just inviting your higher self to come in and run the show in all of the decisions you're making, in how you're living and who you are being. So inviting your higher self to come in, and then in different segments of your day, right? And you can actually use this practice for anything, is just pausing actually for a moment and setting an intention to move your awareness into your heart space where your soul's guidance resides, and then ask the question, and then contemplate or create whatever it is that you're wanting to create. And just know, right, which this is actually taking me into the next little tip that I want to share with you on trusting your inner guidance. A really important component of it is knowing how your inner guidance speaks to you. You would be surprised, or maybe not surprised. I work with a lot of leaders, a lot of people who are on their spiritual path, and they still struggle at times with making decisions from their ego mind. And so the clearer you are in terms of how your soul's guidance speaks to you, how that comes through to you versus how your ego mind speaks to you, is an absolute game changer. And not to mention a huge confidence booster in terms of your ability to take decisive action. So backing up a little bit, right? It's important to know how that voice speaks to you. And the easiest way to tell is that your soul's guidance is never going to be fear-based, okay? It's always going to be a voice that guides you toward expansion. And there may be times that whatever your soul is guiding you to do can instill fear in you, but just know that that's your ego mind that is questioning the status quo. And so something I want to share with you on that note too is that it's important not to suppress your ego mind, because when you do that, the thought can become repetitive and continue coming back again and again, right? So your ego mind serves a purpose. And so it's important to acknowledge when your ego mind challenges you and questions you, thinking it and then releasing, you know, whatever that thought is, right? So your soul's guidance, there are really there are more than four, but there are four different ways that our soul's guidance can speak to us. One is claircognizance. That means clear knowing. You don't know how you know something, you just do. So if you receive information that way, just trust that knowing, right? Just trust what's coming through in that way for you. The next one is clairvoyance, which means clear seeing. And this just might mean that when your soul's guidance or your intuition speaks to you, you see a lot of things in your mind's eye and your third eye, or you may even see things in the external. The next one is clairsentience, and this means clear feeling, right? A lot of empaths especially have this gift, and you may feel your soul's guidance with a validation of having goosebumps, or just feeling a certain emotion, or just sensing something. You just feel it. And the fourth main one is clairaudience, which means clear hearing. Okay, and similar to clairvoyance, but with hearing versus seeing, is that you could hear something, you know, internally, or you could actually hear something externally that is guiding you. And so those are the four main ways that your soul's guidance can speak to you. But just pay attention, and you've likely already had, especially if you're on a growth path, on a spiritual path, you've already had so many instances in the past where your intuition or your soul's guidance has spoken to you, and you've known how it's come through, or you've either followed it or not followed it. I'm bringing this up again today because it is a lot like working a muscle. It isn't a one and done thing, like, oh, this is how my soul's guidance speaks to me, and kind of that's that. It's an everyday practice. So as I said earlier in the video, just trusting yourself to know how that comes through for you, setting an intention each day that you're going to be coming from that space of your higher self and making decisions from your soul. It will just feel more natural and easier and easier. And the last thing that I want to talk about on this topic is another important component of trusting your inner guidance is trusting your inner guidance through taking decisive action on it, right? And I say decisive action because when your soul's guiding you to do something, okay, that is the time to do it, not after your ego tells you that you have to spend time thinking about it, right? That is the time to take action on it. So the clearer you are in how that voice speaks to you will help you to build more and more confidence in taking action as soon as you receive the guidance and not hesitating. Again, fear can come up here because you may be being called to do something that no one else is doing, that you've never done before. And it's natural to, because of our environmental conditioning and all of that, it's natural to wonder what the outcome's going to be. But when you live a soul-led life, which if you're watching this video series, I know that you are, and I know that you're called to something greater. You know that you will almost never see the whole path ahead when you're being called to do something. So letting go of the outcome and having a willingness to just really lean in and do that trust fall and to take that action is really important. The one last thing I want to add on this is that it's also important to take aligned action, right? Let's say that you receive guidance to do something and there are like 3 different actions you're being called to take. You might take action on the one that feels easier right away and procrastinate on the other ones. So What I like to do when I'm experiencing those kind of scenarios, right, is just face whatever the most sticky action is you're being called to take. Just actually take that one first, right? Just make the conscious decision to take the plunge, and then, and then it's an easier road from there on out. And so again, this is something, trusting your inner guidance, that people at every level of, if you want to call it ascension, enlightenment, people at every level of awareness on their path struggle with this, because as you continue to rise into new levels of expansion, new opportunities for trusting at a deeper and more expanded level will pop up for you. So with all that being said, if you are being called to expand into new levels of potentiality on your path, I would love to support